everybody. Today I have a special treat for you. Everybody has been so interested and have been asking so many questions about the illustrator of my first children's book. And today I have the illustrator, Kat Powell. Hi, Kat. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Crystal. Oh, it's so great to finally catch up again after a short while.
I know it's been a while. So Kat and I was living in Germany. Kat is in Texas, and most of our conversation has been through email, some texting, once in a while a Zoom call, but a lot of it is just through texting. So as I have shown, the book to a few people, and I have the book, even though the book that I have, the formatting is off, you can still see the illustrations. And everybody says these illustrations are phenomenal. Who is this artist? They're so curious and wanting to know all about you. Like, I think they think the story's cute. I don't know if they've really read the text, but they are so captivated by the art. And one of the things that we talked about when Kat was doing the illustrations is both of us, I think, have a love for all things nature, including bugs and spiders and snakes and mice, and just really wanting to have these little critters to have like a personality, but also to be almost hidden throughout the book. And that is one thing that people are like, oh, look at this little one, look at this little one. So anyway, I people are so curious about you. And so I wanted a chance for just for us to talk a little bit more, because when we interviewed before, a lot of people did watch the interview and was really kind of wanting more. So I had reached out to Kat earlier in the week and said, Kat, we need to have another interview. So Kat, I do have quite a few questions to ask you, but one of the things is that everybody's like, who is this artist? Can you tell everybody a little bit about because you really are incredibly talented, and like, for those of you that don't know, when I was looking for an illustrator, I looked at about 95 applicants and whittled it down and whittled it down, and I looked through all of her personal art, her fan art, and I really saw like, this is an incredible artist and this is who I want. And how do you get from being a little kid that draws, like I used to draw as a kid, and I'm certainly not an artist, and then you are now this incredible artist? Like, what can you tell us a little bit about your process? Were you self-learned? Did you take art in school? Was there someone that mentored you?
So I've been drawing for probably about, I think it's now closer to 20 years, even though I'd like to say it's just 15, but it's probably closer to 20 years. So I didn't start whenever I was super young. What I ended up doing was I was kind of mimicking my sister, where she started off as the artist and I wanted to learn, and she was kind of showing me how to draw, and I started to kind of pick up how to draw from watching anime and other cartoons. And then from there, I started to take a few courses in high school. And then I went off to college, where I really tried to emphasize on traditional type of learning. I picked up a few bad habits from learning from anime at first, where the anatomy was maybe a little bit off. It was a more fantasy style. And then I went into more hardcore traditionalism, where I wanted to learn anatomy, color theory, all of that kind of somewhat boring basics, but it was a great foundation in order to build upon what I wanted to do and how I wanted to know how to create realism, but then also add a cartoony value to it. And you can kind of see it with A Hope is a Butterfly, where there's a lot of realism, but there's also a lot of like character and movement. It's not so photorealistic that is just stagnant. It has a little bit of sway and movement to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. And so one of the things that I found out about you that I didn't know, because we most of our talk is business talk, is there was an exhibition in Times Square that you were part of. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so that happened back in 2014, where there was this group called See Me, and they were trying to get a bunch of artists from all different types of professions, like some who are beginners, some who have been artists for several years. And they wanted to do a group expo that was going to be on Times Square on some of the large billboards where they would take up like I think it was like a whole block where it was the large screens and they would have all the artists showcased onto them. And it was a way for artists from around the entire country to be able to have a show in New York without having to worry about the pain and hassle of trying to ship out an original artwork where they'd have to stress about, oh no, did it make it to New York? Is it still in one piece? How expensive is the shipping? And it was something great. Like, it's total bragging rights now that I could say I showed in New York, but I'm taking it.
Absolutely. I mean, and how, like, that is really cool to see on Times Square on one of those huge billboards, your art and your name.
Yeah, I was really excited. And there were countless artists. And that's another thing, is they were able to show more artists because it was a digital format. You weren't constricted by having to be in a gallery space.
And how did you get picked for that?
It was basically the same format. Whenever you want to be represented in a gallery, you have to submit your art, and pretty much if there's a theme, which I don't quite remember what the theme was for that one. I think they wanted to keep it open-ended, but you submit your artwork and you just cross your fingers and hope that the person who is selecting it, the juror, really likes what they see. So that was pretty much it. I tried it and I got it.
That's so cool. That is really cool. And I'm curious. I've worked with a lot of teenagers in my career, and a lot of teens love art. They love to take art class. And a lot of them, I'd like to get a job. I'd like to have my work be art, around art, but there's no money in it. And can you speak to that? Because I don't know a lot about you, but I believe that you are able to make artwork your career.
Yes, I am a full-time artist. Whenever I first graduated college, which was in 2010, so I've been working as an artist since then. It was a little different because I did have, I guess you could say, a more stable job where it was still in the arts, but I did those type of classes where you would have a group of people who would come in, you would teach them how to paint, and they would drink, and they would have a party. And like, as the artist, you would entertain them and show them step by step how to paint, and made it kind of easy and fun. So I was working for, I guess you could say, like, I was working for a company, but I was also still an artist. And in the past, it's now been a few years, since 2019, I stepped away from that job and I became a full-time illustrator, because during that whole time I was working with them, I did do illustration jobs on the side, commission work, personal artwork. And then since 2019, I've been working completely as a solo artist. And to be frank with everybody, there is money in it. So don't sit there and think that there's such a thing as starving artists, because I've gotten a good career because of the glory of the internet. But there are some instances where it can be a little bit shaky because you are your own boss. So you have to go out and find work. You have to do a lot of things where maybe you can find commissions in your own hometown while you supplement with illustration jobs that you find online. So there's some parts where I do really well. It's fantastic. And other parts I'm like, okay, I might need to tighten my belt a tiny bit. But it's a good balance where I get to make my own time. I'm an artist I'm able to pay the bills. I'm able to, buy my clothes and do everything that I need as a full-time artist. So, I mean, I'm happy, and the work can be very lucrative, just so people know.
And that's great to hear, because I would have even an art teacher at one of the schools that I worked at would tell the kids, he's an art teacher himself, say, don't do this. You're not going to make any money. And the kids would feel so dejected. And I think that goes to these limiting self-beliefs that we have. Like, this is my passion, but I can't do it. There's no money in it. But, you can make it happen. But you also have to put yourself out there and beat the pavement and keep things going.
It is a lot of hard work. You not only do you have to be your own boss and make sure that whenever you do get a client, somebody that you're working for, you have to go above and beyond, meet all their deadlines while still being like realistic to what you can physically do. And you have to hype yourself up without overselling yourself, because you are your own product, and you want to make sure that whenever somebody decides to work with you, that you can give them your all, that you just work very hard. So it's not the easiest life, but I don't think there's any other life I would want.
Yeah, and I agree. It's like I know that working with you, one of the things for you, because you advertise yourself on Upwork, which is a platform, that's where I found you. And a lot of what's important for you is to have the good reviews. Right. And
Yeah,
that's what I looked at was the reviews with everybody, not only the art, but the reviews. And yeah, so really working hard to get the good reviews. And, of course, your reviews were really, really, really good. And I'd have this question for you. It seems like you seem someone that seems very modest, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the impression I get of you is it's hard for you to say, look at what an amazing artist I am. I'm so good. Look at this work. And it's a little bit about what you need to do to sell yourself. So has that been a struggle for you to really put yourself out there and be a modest person, and yet say, like, I'm really good at this stuff, and you want to buy this stuff?
That, yes, it has been quite a struggle, and it's still a struggle to have to sit there and really prop yourself up, because sometimes you can go through bouts where you kind of have, like, a lot of people have like imposter syndrome with like, oh, am I really that good? But it's like, listen, you can hype yourself up without going so overboard that you can't meet the goals in your head. Like, you can't live up to what you're trying to paint yourself as. And I put forth what I know I can do. And I do have to kind of toot my own horn, even though it feels so weird. I'm like, I want the work to speak for itself, but sometimes you have to do the speaking. Now
Right.
you have to prop yourself up. And that's the thing with trying to prove yourself, is through getting some of those good reviews, because you want to have a good rapport with your clients, so that way they can keep coming back to you and you keep working with familiar faces. And you just want to make sure that it's a good reputation that you're building. It's kind of the same with any other job or resume. You want a good reputation. So that's what the whole reviews are.
Yeah, awesome. So one of the things I'm curious about with you is, like, when I do my writing, I have like a process. I do like a meditation, I silence everything, and I just kind of let, someone calls it a muse, just let something work through me and let the writing come. If I don't take the time to do that, the content editor page will be like, go back and redo this because you didn't do what you usually do when you write. You can catch it. And so with me, it's a process of really feeling into it. And I'm curious with you, what is your process? Because when I look at your work, it feels like, at the risk of sounding wooey, it feels like there's a sense of magic to it. It's like, when I wrote the story, the characters have a lot of feeling and a lot of motion, and there's a lot going on with all of the characters. There's four main characters. And Hope is, there's three main characters, the Hope, and then the two dogs, and then Samantha, but it's the three of them that are the main ones. And there's a lot going on with them emotion wise. And then we've got the side characters making an appearance. And I described what the illustrations I wanted them to look like. But what you did is you took the illustrations, and when I look at the illustrations, I feel something. Like, even the little spider has a look of horror at one time, or in the bees have this look of sadness. And like, there's a lot of emotion that you evoked into that. I'm curious, what kind of a process do you have when you are taking someone's work, like the story, and creating the art around, because I would think it would be different when it's your work, when it's a painting that you're doing that's coming from you. Like, this is my stuff. I'm not having to take a story and make an illustration that fits the story. I'm curious what that process is for you. And maybe there's different processes for each that you do.
Yeah. So whenever it comes to creating likable characters, or maybe in context of Hope is a Butterfly, more realistic characters, I always like to try and add different mannerisms just so that way they feel more like a solid character. Like even something as simple as the dogs expressing themselves through like a little quirk of their eyebrows or a little tilt of their head, just because I mean, animals do that. So it's parts wanting to create a type of character that people would instantly recognize. Like maybe they would have friends that would do these like quirky little things, little like facial mannerisms. But then it's also just something that dogs do. You know, dogs have expressive eyebrows. So I guess it's part fantasy, part realism that is being created in a lot of the stories that I work on for clients. Because you don't want there to be just stagnant characters that just stand there in the typical pose that you would expect. I want there to be a little bit more, I guess, comforts in seeing, maybe a little girl just lying on the ground with her hair all messed up in the grass, a few wrinkles in the shirt, just little tiny touches that make it more grounded. And for my own personal artwork, I suppose I don't know if I ever really go through any rituals. I guess I just sometimes will sit there and have maybe just white noise or very subtle music playing, and then I try to make myself bored. Because, growing up in the 90s, you were constantly bored. You didn't have all these devices to distract you. So you would often have to think of your own fantasy world, your own entertainment. And what I do now as an adult, still very distracted by devices, I try to find moments where I can just make myself bored. I try to not watch anything or listen to music that has too many lyrics that could try and, I guess, push my ideas towards something. Unless I'm feeling like in a certain mood, then maybe I'll put on like Alanis Morissette or something like that. But I tried to create boredom so that way my brain can truly have freedom to just go hog wild. And I think that's something that maybe a lot of people are missing now, is just the imagination from boredom.
Yeah.
And I guess that's like my only process aside from coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way it's similar, is it's the quiet. You're going to a place of quietness. It's, and mind is going to a place of within, which is quiet as well. So it's a little bit of just that getting away from any kind of outside interaction. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is a bit more meditative. I don't know. I always thought of like with meditation that you had to like be in like a certain quiet room where sometimes I'll just stare off into space. So I think it is just the same thing. So I think we
It
are
like
pretty
anything.
similar in that.
Very similar. Yeah. Yeah. Because yeah, I had recently, you're part of the team that I have helping me with this. It's everybody is an amazing contributor to this whole project. And Jazz Lenny, who's the brand strategist and the marketing and the kind of the business mind behind everything, she said, to write a little summary about each character, like they're introducing themselves, to put out on social media. So I was busily, oh, okay, I'll do this real quick. And Paige is like, what is your process? And like this is, I can tell this is not coming from that space. And she's right. I didn't quiet everything down. I just I got to bang this out really quick. I'll do it. But, it was in the middle of a lot of distractions happening. And so, yeah, it's just really getting things quiet for sure is helpful. What for you, when I look at the illustrations that you did, what I feel is that this artist was having a wonderful time. And I don't know if that's what was happening, but it felt like I had the illustrations in my head of what I wanted. And we had a lot of conversations back and forth and back and forth of different details. And of course, we know we had the whole digital to the traditional art piece. But when I look at it now, there was everything that I imagined in my mind, you created, and you couldn't see in my head. You got the descriptions, and then you add all this fun stuff. For you, what was the most enjoyable part, or was it enjoyable to do Hope? Was it a fun project for you?
Oh, absolutely. Like you have no idea. I have been waiting for a chance at a book like this for so long. I was at a point where I'm like, you know what? I might just have to do it myself.
Yeah.
Because it's and okay, I don't want to bash on any of my other projects because I love all of them. They all have such different worlds that they exist in. So there's a different quality to them. But your book, whenever it came along, it was something different, something special. That's how come I had to pounce on it so quickly whenever I saw it pop up, because it's very rare to find a children's book nowadays that is traditional, that has heavy detail and all these little extra Easter eggs, little characters interacting. And whenever I was younger, I always remembered seeing children's books and like, having my parents read children's books to me, where I would just lay back and they would read it and I'd be able to see all this detail in the background, like just extra little tiny things, like a little bee going around trying to get pollen. I'm like, that's so cute. Because I mean, it's an outdoor scene. Why not? Let's go ham with it. Let's add as much detail as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I told you is like, I want, because I remember as a child, I love art. I love art. And as a child, loving books. I love the written word, but I also love the picture. So I would look, there would be certain books that I would look at over and over and over again because of the illustrations.
Mhm.
And what I wanted with this book was I asked you, like, could you put fun little critters everywhere that are not necessarily the main characters, but that they're kind of hidden? And kind of like you said, the Easter egg. And you did that. And it's like now when people are looking at it, like they see the main characters, like, look at this, look at this. But I think when you look at it again, I miss this. And you made these hidden characters that are like two hummingbirds are playing with each other. And it is so rich in that. They're like the illustrations have such depth that yeah, it's amazing. And everybody's like, I'm telling you, who is this artist? like like I
Well,
know
that's
her before she's famous.
stop.
Mhm.
And I think that's also something that I'll do sometimes with my own personal artwork, where there are some things that I do where I add in so much detail, where it's almost, I guess, a little way to add a bit of fun for myself, where I'm sitting there and I'm adding in this extra little like secret detail. I'm like, I wonder if anyone's going to see this.
Wow.
So a little bit of it is also me just kind of playing with the viewer. I'm like, I wonder if they're going to notice, if they're going to see all the little ladybugs and all that.
Yeah, that would be fun to. I mean, to make a worksheet for the book for people who, because there's multiple. I don't even want to say lessons because lessons makes it sound like I'm trying to teach someone something, but multiple little um, meaningful situations with these characters, so that if a parent wants to have a discussion with their child, or a teacher with the student, that there can be rich discussion around it. And it would be fun for part of that worksheet, like how many ladybugs are in the book. I didn't even think about that, so you said that. How many bees? Yeah, that would be fun because then they can count them. That
It
would
could be
be
like an I Spy.
yeah, like I Spy. That would be a lot of fun. And just for everybody that, the book isn't launched yet, but there are 23 illustrations, full-size illustrations for this book. And what I asked Kat to do is like, I want the kids and anyone buying the book, not just children, but anyone looking at the book, to feel like they are walking through Kat Powell's art gallery. And it really does feel like that because there are 23 full illustrations plus spot illustrations on the text side. Because it's one, and this was your idea actually, is because your illustrations were so good, we couldn't find a place to put the text. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
to, And so you said, how about if we have one page be the illustration and one page be the text? And so on the text side, it's like, well, can we have more art? Because I'm kind of like more art everywhere. My whole house is like almost wall to wall art, if I could have it that way. And so there's all these fun little spot illustrations on the text side. So there's a lot of art in this book.
And that's how come I had so much fun, where I'm like, you got it. We're adding so much. You're gonna get spiders, you're gonna get mice, you're gonna get extra flowers, everything.
Yeah, it was, and it is. It's amazing. It's fun, really fun to look at, and we're gonna have 2 more books after this that are already written, ready, for your magic.
Oh, I'm so excited. I cannot wait.
I can't wait to see what you do with them. I just like, oh my gosh, what is Kat gonna do with this scene? So it'll be fun. Yeah.
Oh, can't wait to read them.
Yeah. So Kat, how can people find you if they want? Because not only do you do children's books, but you also do commissioned art and beautiful, beautiful commissioned art and different types of, and I don't have the art language, but different types of, is it media and different type of things maybe that you want. You've got a whole really rich selection of artwork. So how can people find you?
My main website is katpowellartist.com. Of course, I also have Kat Powell Artist Facebook. Then I have Kat Powell Artist Instagram. So it's the same on all platforms. And if anybody's interested in commission or doing a children's book, I've also done covers for poetry books. There was a thriller book that I got to do, which had full design front and back, where it was an entire scene that stretched over it, which was a lot of fun. So if you have any kind of projects like that, commissioned artwork, I also do tattoo designs. I've done a few of those as well. And yeah, just, feel free to contact me, message me if you're on Instagram and you want to leave a comment on anything. I'm very friendly. I like to respond to people.
Yeah,
so
great at responding. And you're still on Upwork as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. Well,
it should be like Catherine Powell or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think I just put an ad out and then I had all these amazing artists contact me. So it was overwhelming, but a lot of fun. And and I'm glad I got you. So it's been a fun process. Well, thank you, Kat. And we may do more of these talks because people really are truly wanting to know who is this artist. And I don't blame them because it's the artwork. And I said this, I think to you before, Kat, like my dad is like, I think he's read the book, read the manuscript. He's like, I'd buy this book just to rip out the pages and frame the art. He's like really more into your art than he is into the book, but it's visual, right? So it's you get there's something about reading, and I am an avid reader. I love to read, but looking at something is a whole different experience, and you got both of them at once. So I think
it's a great team to have good writing and good art.
Yeah, it goes together so well, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's so great to talk to you today, Kat. And everybody, if you want to know more about her, I will also leave the information down below in the comment section. So
thank you, Crystal.
Yeah.